districts. Starting point here is that districts that cover multiple counties currently seem to lack oversight. County grand juries don't seem to address them, and state oversight doesn't either. How does that change? That's the general subject. Kara?
And it's correct. Oftentimes the larger the district, multi-county entities, the more intimidating, I think, grand juries might find that topic to be, and so the less willing they are, less able they are to devote so much of their resources, their time and resources, to looking into some gigantic thing, the Metropolitan Water District, the Bay Area Rapid Transit District, all these things, they're so big. I want to point out that LLRC and the Board of Directors of CGJA has developed an issue paper on multi-county joint investigations where where two or more grand juries are thinking about getting together to jointly investigate BART, water district, any other kind of large multi-district entity. And just to start the conversation, I just want to let you know that our position is that there's no authority for doing that under the law. So wet blanket, first thing, is that we don't see the legal authority for doing that because in order to do a multi-jury investigation, you necessarily have to breach confidentiality, because how could you do that together without revealing those things that are confidential? Most importantly, evidence. There is a 33-year-old AG's opinion, which we believe has been since discredited by advancements in the law, which at that time said a committees of two or more grand juries, if those committees are less than a quorum of the grand jury, and by the way, quorum is never mentioned anywhere in the penal code about anything having to do with grand juries, they could get together and jointly investigate and then report to their own grand juries. This makes no sense, and law that followed it makes it more and more clear that revealing evidence of your investigation, your grand jury's investigation, to another grand jury is simply not authorized by the law and would constitute a misdemeanor. So if a grand jury were to do that, we would wanted to do that or wanted information about that, we would provide our analysis to the grand jury to give to their own legal counsel, and their own legal counsel would tell them whether it's okay to talk to other grand juries about a pending investigation.
Well, there might be a way that is legal. I don't know how effective it would be, but in Alameda County, our group discussed a possible procedure where, this is regarding BART, the various counties who were interested, we as our chapters could work together to identify some of the worst aspects of BART, and then if 3 counties were involved, we could recommend as individual people or as a group, as a chapter, to the incoming jury on the regular steps, the regular form, that here are some things about BART that you might be interested in looking into, and perhaps we could tell them that the same procedures being used in X counties, county, whatever. And the impact, I think, would be much greater if 2 or 3 or 5 grand juries pointed out all separate problems in BART, rather than one grand jury taking on the horrendous task of trying to address the problems in BART. Do you want to add something, Mike?
On a different aspect, an individual county can investigate a multi-jurisdictional district.
Of course.
Alameda County 4 or 5 years ago investigated East Bay Municipal Utility District that covers Contra Costa, Alameda, and a whole lot of property in the Sierras, and it was just their own report, and they found several things wrong.
Let me make it clear that CGJA encourages the investigations of large multi-county districts. What we have concerns about is sharing your one grand jury's investigation with another grand jury. We can't find any legal authority for doing that,
And since violations of confidentiality constitute a misdemeanor, we're just saying be very, very careful, grand juries, before you think about sharing that information. I don't see any problem with a recommendation being made by your chapter to various grand juries about why don't you go and investigate these problems we've identified through the citizens complaint process. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, that's the way, as Karen first said about, one of the things about the multi-county large districts is it's intimidating. The way you deal with an intimidating problem is you break it down into pieces, and if the chapters get together and come up with some kind of a statement of these are pieces that we identify and that we think should be done, and Contra Costa, why don't you look at this one, and Alameda look at this one, and Santa Clara look at this one, and then the jury can do whatever they want. But that's how to break it up into pieces, I think. So that's, we've had a little bit of discussion, and actually those, I'll put a plug in now. Those of you who do have an interest in specifically the multi-county district of BART, after the end of dinner tonight, Janet and I and anybody else that's interested are going to talk a little bit about that and see if we have enough momentum to have a group formed to look at that.
Well, I just wanted to add my 2 cents worth into this. BART, as we know in Contra Costa County and Alameda County, has some egregious dysfunctions. And I ran into the new director of BART at a meeting in July, and I invited her to address our chapter 2 weeks ago, and we invited the Alameda County Association to come. And I think that was a really good start, because we got the same information that they got, and each of us is thinking, okay, there's so much dysfunction that it wouldn't be hard for 5 or 80 counties to focus on one area. But I think it's important to get the counties together to get the same information to address the project. From the rest of you here in California, I don't know if you know, but there has been so much violence on BART lately that somebody really needs to address it, and if the grand jury can't start by doing something, then nobody can.
We've heard a lot from Contra Costa and Alameda. I want to give Butte County a chance to speak. You wanted to say something, right?
I guess I just want to reinforce the idea that we find some way of doing this, or at least fleshing out what the real problems are. In the rural counties, 5 years ago, we looked at trying to do one of the large water districts. I mean, water is a massive problem. It's a problem all over the state. It's only going to be worse. These are fiefdoms that have all the money in the world. And they're often in some of our smallest counties that have the most difficult time. One county that I can think of, Glenn, half the time they have to drag people in off the street to serve on the grand jury at all. We need to fix this, and maybe one of the places to start is to ask the AG's office for an opinion. I mean, I appreciate that we have an opinion, but I think if we could get a better view of where this might go down the line, that could only be helpful.
Okay, Ken?
Well, I would just like clarification. I would just like clarification on at what point do we infringe on the secrecy rules, and how far can you go? I mean, could you say, we've got 3 topics for BART, the police, maybe it's human resources, or I'm not sure, maintenance of cars. Okay, 3 items. Can we openly, between juries, say, Okay, would you take that, and then we'll take that and that, and then it stops, or is that too far?
No, I think it's between, my understanding was this was between chapters.
Right.
The chapters would identify the 3 major problems, let's say, and then suggest that one grand jury do this, one do that, and one do the other. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah, no, the juries can't talk to each other at all. The juries can't, the chapters can talk to each other. And the chapters can say, well, we think that the Contra Costa jury ought to do this, and the Alameda jury ought to do that. But
But they can't make them.
we can't make them do it.
What we can do is file a complaint.
Yeah, we can file a complaint, give them information that we've collected, make a suggestion, and then it's up to them to decide what they want to do. But we can't, the juries can't talk to each other, is the bottom line. Okay, I think that the intent earlier was to kind of segue from that discussion to what's the grand jury do in a situation where there's been a major disaster in the county.
Yeah, Jim had to leave, but I'm Sonoma County, so I'll stand up for that one. And I think the thing I would like to get across is that things are so bad in Sonoma County that we normally look at jails, right? All the jail's been emptied out to San Francisco, juvenile hall's gone to another county. The functions aren't functioning. The county functions aren't functioning. They're on the radio every day. The chair of the Board of Supervisors is Shirley Zane, is on a radio program for 2 hours every day saying the only thing she's going to look at, the Board of Supes is going to look at this year until it's all over with, is fire recovery. They don't want to spend a minute on any other problem unless it's earth-shattering. So the jury then, the seated jury, is trying to figure out what on earth can they do to make positive use of their time. The best thing I've heard today talking to people is go join all these other groups, because there's tons of groups forming to actually deal with the recovery problems. But
you were saying that the juveniles have been sent out. Would Sonoma County have the right to go to that other county that's housed them to make sure that the juveniles from their counties are being treated properly?
They look at it from their own county's point of view. Is Sonoma following up on these kids that are elsewhere? Whether they can look at the condition and management of the facility itself is unclear, because they don't own, let's say they send them to Lake County. They don't own the Lake County Juvenile Hall, so they don't have direct management or control, but they do have the ability to look at what Sonoma County Probation Department is doing to make sure that those kids in Lake County Juvenile Hall facility are adequately cared for and getting all their rights and visitation and all that.
Conditions have been fine.
Yeah.
May I give you an introduction? I was involved from the private sector dealing with the Loma Prieta earthquake in Santa Cruz County. And what fell apart and what the grand jury didn't see was they had a role they could probably play called oversight and choose an area of what would be a real problem to everybody in the county. And in that county, every city, as versus the county having jurisdiction, took 10 years to take care of replacing physical properties that were needed for the entire community as well as the individuals because of the destruction. And I would say to you that the grand jury maybe needs to understand first, do they want an oversight role and how they would define that? And then what major area that affects the most people could be looked at. And you have in Sonoma all kinds of issues around building permits. And if you were to go forward and see how do you take care of the citizens and how you see that government is taking care of the citizens, that would be a process to look at, and one from a perspective of oversight, so you don't take the position of any city, any county agency, or any particular agency, but truly from an oversight objective. And that would be a suggestion that you could probably take a while within the grand jury to organize how you go. But I think the results would be probably the most helpful to both government and to the citizens. And don't worry about the jail, and don't worry about the health department, don't worry about all of it, which are all important. But what is the glue that keeps the community together? It's their housing and their buildings that keep them going forward as a community.
I think that we're almost done with this meeting, so if you've been waiting to have something to say, now's your chance. I don't know that anybody's been holding back, but, okay. I think that that's a wrap. Thank you very much. Appreciate your participation. Well, wait a second. There's an announcement.
If I could have 12 good volunteers for 1 minute, I would appreciate it. And I've been in the Army, don't make me do it the hey you way. We need to get these items from here down the hall to where we're having dinner in Salon E. So if I could have someone pick out one thing, and it's a basket, and it's a description, and it could be pamphlets. They're numbered 1 through 12, I believe. If you would make sure that that gets transferred down the hall and put in that order on the 2 tables down there, just follow me, I would appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.